Thank you.
What a bunch of manure, ladies and gentlemen. As predicted, Chris Wallace was going to carry the water for Joe Biden. I will say that I'm impressed that Joe Biden didn't collapse on the stage here. He actually had a pair of trousers on, and for the most part was able to string sentences together. In many respects, for the left, he probably proved that he's not demented. He's not suffering from Alzheimer's. So in that respect, it's a victory for Joe Biden. Notice how his wife can't even be around. She has to wear a mask in his presence. Joe going over to thank Chris Wallace for the job carrying the water for him, ensuring that he had a chance to succeed. All right, folks, I'm going to turn them off now. And it's very quiet there. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That is the debate from Case Western Reserve University in Cleveland, Ohio. Let me go ahead and get that off the screen, folks. Thanks for sticking with me this year. I hope that you've found this interesting. And why is that not going away? There we go. No, it's still there. Just let me get rid of it really quick here, folks. Oh, I think it's the wrong window. That's why. All right, there we go. All right, so we're going to get rid of that. And I'm going to close that puppy off there real quick. There you go. All right, folks. That was somewhat disappointing to say the least. That was less a debate and more of a farce, to say the least. Let me go ahead and get myself set up here. I've got a number of comments for everybody here just to run across some of what was covered there. Let me get your comments and see who's still here in the chat. Sean Mendes is here, Lars Salas, D. Stu, Yanni Meyer. And the winner is Chris Wallace. Yeah, I think maybe that's the case, Yanni. Although I would say that Donald Trump got his digs in. That was pretty good. Devolve is still here. 1RB Trump totally ignored Wallace there. Well, good for him, ignoring Wallace. Wallace deserves to be ignored. What a pathetic bunch of nonsense that was. Charlotte says, thank you to me. Tucker Carlson's moderator. That would be a good debate. Yeah, why is it not Tucker Carlson instead of this leftist, talking mouthpiece, Chris Wallace, who's proved he's not even remotely objective here. So Proudly Neanderthal has been here all along. Charlotte's Web. Who else? Robin popped into the stream. Thank you for coming in, Robin. And Tez Ting showed up here. Thank you for that. All right, folks, let me get to, if I'm missing anybody, my apologies, but let me get to some of the comments here. I've written down a lot of things. Let's just go back and start this and cover some of the stuff. So at the beginning, the discussion was about the Supreme Court of the United States and the nomination of Amy Coney Barrett. And for that discussion, ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump said, well, we have the Senate, we have the White House, we being the Republican Party, and we have the right to nominate a replacement for Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Well, not only does he have the right, ladies and gentlemen, but constitutionally he has the obligation to nominate someone. Barack Obama did fulfill his obligation by nominating Merrick Garland, but unfortunately for him, he didn't control the Senate, so he didn't get his nominee. But Barack Obama did fulfill his obligation. Donald Trump has an obligation to fulfill his role under the Constitution. So, yeah, that's a good point. And as Donald Trump pointed out in the famous words of Barack Obama himself, elections have consequences. This is why the Democrats are so wetting in their underwear right now, their nappies, because they can't stop it. That's the bottom line, ladies and gentlemen. They cannot stop it, and it really is torching their shorts. It's burning their bums that they can't stop this process from going through. So that's the bottom line with that. Biden says, now this was comical. I don't really know where Biden was going. It showed he was off the mark from the outset, but let's just cover this very quickly. By the way, folks, 33 watching, if anyone could smash the like button, we get some high percentage of viewers with the like, it'd be nice. But the American people have a right to say who's on the court. In what way? Do we get to take a poll and say, okay, well, now you're in charge? What a bunch of nonsense that is, folks. What a bunch of nonsense that is. No, the American people don't have a say. The only say the American people have is in selecting the president of the United States and voting for senators, which indirectly gives them a say because the Senate must confirm all presidential nominations for the court. But the public has had its say. In 2016, the public voted for Donald Trump. Contrary to what Joe Biden says, the president's term doesn't end when an election cycle starts. If that was the case, Donald Trump's presidency would have ended 2 years ago. That's utter nonsense. His term ends when the next president is sworn in January, the third week of January. That's the bottom line. So he has until then to nominate someone. That is his prerogative. That is his privilege. Let's see. What else do we have here? And then he says, but American people aren't going to get that chance because Donald Trump's going to prevent them from getting. He said the election's underway. We should wait. Wait for what? Wait for someone to come in who's different? That's not how the process works. He said the president wants to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. Well, good. Good riddance to the Affordable Care Act, a piece of disgusting legislation that made it a punishable fine to not pay a fee as an American. How un-American can you get? He said that it stripped 20 million, or excuse me, I said that, he said that it stripped all these people from health insurance. He got it wrong. It actually stripped 20 million working Americans, the ACA did. 20 million working Americans lost their health insurance because of the way that insurance rigging scheme was set up, the ACA folks. He said that 100 million people with pre-existing conditions would be stripped of health coverage. That's a lie. That's just a made-up figure he threw out there, trying to scare people with the figure of 100 million. Where does that come from? No facts on that whatsoever. Trump said people have already had their say as far as this. Biden is going to extinguish 180 million privately insured people with state-run health care. Well, that's a true story there, ladies and gentlemen. Half the country has private health insurance, and it would all be extinguished with the Affordable Care Act implemented in the way that Joe Biden wants. Biden said that he wants to expand Obamacare. What a disaster that was for the country. He wants to increase it. And then he said, the Democratic Party is me. Well, if the Democratic Party is Joe Biden, I'd be worried if I was a Democrat. He said, I am the Democratic Party. The platform is what I approved of. Well, one would hope that's the case. Then he blamed Donald Trump for the death of 200,000 people from COVID-19. We know, in fact, the number is under 15,000. The CDC itself actually accidentally released the true statistics instead of the supposed people who've died from COVID-19. And then Biden said something strange. He said, how many of those have survived of the 200,000? I really don't know what he's asking there. Then Trump pointed out that veterans died as a consequence of Joe Biden and Barack Obama's administration, and there's truth to that. Over 300,000 veterans died waiting for medical care over the past decade when Obama and Biden were in office, the 8 years they were in office. Trump says 2 million people would have died had it not been for the actions of his administration under COVID-19. Well, that's a counterfactual. That's just an estimation, President Trump, and I won't cut you slack on that. The community that told you that, the CDC and the National Institutes for Health, have been wrong about everything else in COVID, so who's to say they were right about that projection? So it's a nice talking point, but I disagree with it. Biden said that Roe versus Wade is on the ballot. It's not. His point is that's a moot point. In fact, the question of Roe versus Wade is not on the ballot because we're talking about Amy Coney Barrett, a conservative Catholic, being appointed to the court and giving a clear majority of 5-4, even with the turncoat swing vote of Chief Justice John Roberts, who can't decide whether he's a constitutionalist or he is in the bank for the leftists on any given day. So he's not a conservative vote, despite the fact that people claim he is. So the court is not 5-3 right now. It is 4-4. With Amy Coney Barrett, it's going to be 5-4, a clear distinction. And occasionally it'll be 6-3 when John Roberts crosses over, when it looks like the vote or the wind is blowing in the right direction. So it's not on the ballot. It's a decided deal. Amy Coney Barrett is going to be the next Supreme Court justice, and Roe versus Wade, if it comes before the court, will be decided. But it's not a ballot issue. It's already decided. That ballot issue was decided in 2016 when John Trump won, and he nominated 3 justices to the court. There you go, folks. Of course, we know that's Neil Gorsuch, Brett Kavanaugh, and now Amy Coney Barrett. That's when it was decided. Not now, but in 2016. So Joe's a little confused there. Then Biden claimed Trump shut down the economy and caused people to lose jobs. Simply wrong, ladies and gentlemen. Simply wrong. Flying Board just gave a super chat. Said, Chris Wallace, what a slime ball this guy is. I agree. And I've been saying that for a long time there, Flying Board. He is a real slime ball who pretends to be objective when he's not. He's simply not objective. It's unbelievable. Sorry about your super chat not showing up there. It's because of sorry, I'm mumbling there. The super chats have somehow wound up under my camera, so my apologies for that. Let me move my camera down in case anybody does a super chat. Anybody wants a super chat, your super chat will show up. Flying Boar, my apologies. Getting an extra free salute there for the $5 Canadian super chat. Good to see their Flying Boar up at this hour watching this with us. And so Joe Biden is simply mistaken. Donald Trump didn't shut down the economy. Cyril Ramaphosa's government shut down the economy. He had control over that. Donald Trump doesn't have control. The governor of Pennsylvania is the one who destroyed the economy in this state. The governor of New York is the one who destroyed New York's economy and damaged the U.S. The governor of Washington State, Jay Inslee, is the one who shut down Washington State. Donald Trump didn't shut down any states and any economies. In fact, he's pushed for just the opposite. One could question the merit of Donald Trump pushing for economies to be open. That's a legitimate question, although I agree with Donald Trump, but it's a legitimate point. But to simply lie and blame Donald Trump for the shutdown of the economy is fiction in the wildest degree ever. Flying Boar says, how do you think Trump performed tonight? That should come up in a sec. Okay, why is it not showing up on top of the screen? That is just not right. It still didn't go. My apologies for that. Why is it not going up there? There it is. Fine, Board, my bad. Your super chat didn't show up again. You have a super chat there. Let me get a $5 Canadian super chat from the Flying Board. How did Trump perform tonight? I would give Trump a B minus. A B minus. Because he didn't hit Joe Biden on the facts when he could have. The first off, the Paris Climate Accord is nonsense. He went off on a riff that was not the effective. I think that Trump could have hit Biden more effectively on several points. Also, he really needed to back off a couple of times and just simply interrupting. It was a tactic he was going to use. Biden got away with it, but we knew that Chris Wallace was sympathetic to Joe Biden. So there's no question about that. Trump has got 2 minutes to talk. Biden interrupts him, and he tells Trump to shut up when he's spoken for a minute and 15 seconds, and then allows Biden to talk for a minute and a half, which was Trump's time, and then he asks Biden a question. That's crap. That's utter nonsense. And then he says, sir, you've had 2 minutes. No, I timed it. It was a minute and 28 seconds, not 2 minutes, Chris Wallace. And you really think that the world's not watching and paying attention? We all aren't watching the time on the clock? What a bunch of nonsense. What a bunch of nonsense. But we knew Chris Wallace was going to carry the water. I would give Trump a B minus. I would give Joe Biden a C, C plus, because he walked out with a pair of trousers on. He didn't collapse. Whatever amphetamines he was on managed to keep his energy level up. And so I would give Joe Biden a C plus and Donald Trump a B minus. It was a pathetic debate. With no question about it. It was the most disrespectful and vile debate I've ever seen in the modern history. I mean, Joe Biden has no business being president with his boorish, rude behavior. I thought Donald Trump was a bore and a cad in 2016 when he talked about little Marco and lying Ted and all the other stuff he was saying about his opponents. But that's nothing. That's nothing. Joe Biden's disdain and disrespect for the office of the president makes him ineligible for the office of presidency in my mind. Absolutely. Without a doubt. Without a doubt. He was disgraceful in his commentary. But that aside, because Trump was a bit out of behavior too, I'm going to have to castigate him for some of his behavior. But he didn't call Biden names in the way that, Biden called the sitting president a clown. This clown. Excuse me? What planet are you on? You think that that's acceptable? That's not acceptable. Barack Obama was a clown. An utter clown. A complete fraud. Yet his opponents never said that about him, particularly on the debate stage. On the campaign trail, it's a different story, but on the debate stage, the decorum was pathetic. And Joe Biden, not terrible, but I'll set that aside and I'll set Trump's aside. Trump, B minus, Joe Biden, C plus. Mostly because we expected Joe Biden to walk out there with no trousers on and boxer shorts. I'm embellishing, but you get my point. Biden actually held it together, although he said so much gobbledygook. I can't even unpack all of it. It's going to take hours to do. But he wants to expand Obamacare. What a disaster that is. So he's going to double down on a failed bill that never should have been passed. Remember, Nancy Pelosi, we'll read the bill after we pass it. People actually defend legislation like that. That's how bad it was that they had to lie to people and get them to vote for it before they ever even saw it. Yep. So, let's go on from there. Let's see. Wallace said here we go. So after Biden fraudulently claimed that Trump shut down the economy, then Chris Wallace attacked Donald Trump by saying, you're in an argument with your own scientist. Actually, that's not true. That is a media lie and a myth. It's the scientists who are not consistent. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Fauci has changed his opinion on everything more times than a 15-year-old debutante does going to the junior prom. He changes his opinion on medical situations more times than a bride changes her undergarments on her wedding night. Pathetic. Fauci said, don't wear a mask in January. Then he tells us you're going to go to jail if you don't wear a mask because you need them. He told us all these other things. Donald Trump simply listened to his medical advisors and followed them. And when they're inconsistent, he looked elsewhere. So that's an utter lie. And Chris Wallace set him up to make him look bad there. Shame on you, Chris Wallace. Why don't you be honest and say, President Trump, your own medical advisors have been all over the place, like Dr. Fauci claiming you don't need to wear a mask, then changing his position later on saying you do need to wear a mask, telling us not to buy personal protective equipment, but then saying we need personal protective equipment. What's your view on why your scientists changed their position, and do you disagree with them? That would have been a fair question, but it wasn't a fair question. Then Chris Wallace lied about Donald Trump being opposed to mask. Well, President Trump, you're opposed to mask. No, he's not. The guy's got a mask in his pocket. He pulls it. And that was a classic, brilliant moment to undermine and show the bias of Chris Wallace in this debate, ladies and gentlemen. When Donald Trump reached into his vest pocket and pulled out a mask, he goes, I wear them when it's appropriate. Not like Joe, who wears it when he's in a basement by himself and nobody's within 200 yards of him. Brilliant. Well done by Donald Trump. That's classic Donald Trump at the right moment. And that was shameful behavior by Chris Wallace. That's simply a lie. Donald Trump doesn't believe in masks. That's not true. That's fiction. And you're just perpetuating. Your job is to ask legitimate questions. By the way, Chris Wallace wrote all the questions. So if there's any problem with the question, you blame Chris Wallace. And I think there's a problem with that question. It was attempted to be a gotcha moment for President Trump. He carried the water for Biden. So he talked about Donald Trump putting people at risk by having huge rallies. First off, ladies and gentlemen, never talked about the mitigating factors that take place at these rallies. First off, they're voluntary. Nobody's rounding up people and making them go to this. They're making informed decisions, many of whom are wearing masks, oftentimes with social distancing. Not always. Many of these rallies, there is no social distancing, but these are personal risks that people take of their own accord. And Chris Wallace seems to think it's the nanny state's role to decide what citizens should be allowed to do and not do. Well, that flies in the face of the Constitution. And as an objective journalist, he wouldn't have asked a question like that because it's nonsense. At the same time, he tried to contrast that with Biden, who can't draw anything other than flies to his rallies, by making it appear as if Biden was being responsible by having rallies with very few people at it. When the reality is, just like Hillary Clinton, he can't draw people to his rallies. He can't draw them. Bernie Sanders can draw people. I bet you if Bernie Sanders went out right now and had a rally, there'd be 15,000 people there. And the press wouldn't complain about those 15,000 people at a Bernie Sanders rally. But the fact that Joe Biden, just like Hillary Clinton, can't attract crowds, Chris Wallace tries to cover that up and carry the water for Joe Biden. Shameful, 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 biased position by Chris Wallace. That's fact, ladies and gentlemen. So remember in 2016 when Donald Trump came to Harrisburg and he went to the Cumberland Valley High School, 15,000 people showed up with less than 72 hours notice that he was going to be in Cumberland Valley. At the same token, 2 days prior in Harrisburg, Hillary Clinton had 238 people show up in the state capitol. 238. There were more people wiping their nose in the parking lot in Cumberland Valley or along the street trying to get to the rally than she had her entire rally. It's the same situation with Joe Biden. He's unappealing. He's drab. He's confused. He's rambling. And he's a dangerous candidate for the Democrats because he's embarrassed. But Chris Wallace teased this up with his bias to make Trump look irresponsible with the people who love Trump coming to his rallies and accepting personal responsibility for their behavior, and nobody showing up for Biden, making that look like that's a wise and prudent decision. It's not, and it's stupid. Then he did ask a legitimate question. He said Trump said there's a V-shaped recovery, and Biden says there's a K-shaped recovery. I don't know what a K-shaped recovery is. What does that mean? It goes this way, then down this way? What the hell is that? There's a U-shaped recovery, and there is a V shape with a sharp climb back up, whereas the U is much slower. So I don't know what a K-shaped reality is there. I think maybe just Wallace misspoke. Was interesting. And then Chris Wallace tries another bunch of bullshit and lies. He once again carries the water and lies. He said that you only paid $750 in income tax. And Trump said, no, I paid millions of dollars in income tax. One year I paid 24, another year I paid $38 million in income tax. Then Chris Wallace says, you're going to answer the question, did you pay income tax? Well, he just answered the question. And you're lying. You're taking the stolen tax returns, which is a federal crime, by the way. And no, the New York Times is not protected by freedom of the press. They aided and abetted the commission of a federal crime, and they should be held to account for it. That information is not public information. It's privately identifiable information, and it's between the government and the taxpayer, not the New York Slimes. So that New York Times article said that Donald Trump only paid $750 a year in taxes. Later in the article, below the fold, it actually was honest and said that he did pay taxes to $24 million in one of these years. They forgot about the $38 million. But the point is Donald Trump has paid tens of millions of dollars in taxes in the years under concern. And Chris Wallace lied to the public, saying that Donald Trump only paid $750. And then doubled down on that when Trump had already answered the question, saying that Trump wasn't answering the question. And this is where I give Trump a B-, because instead of letting Wallace get away with that lie, he should have said, I just told you the answer, Chris. I told you I paid $24 million one year and $38 million another. Where do you get $750 from? That's fraudulent. That's what Donald Trump should have said. That's where he would have been on his game. In 2016, he would have been on his game. I don't know what's going on tonight, but Donald Trump was not on his game when it comes to that. That's why he got a B- from Chris Wyatt and not a better job. Trump answered him. Pay attention, Chris Wallace. Wallace says he got to 46 minutes into the debate. It wasn't really 46 minutes because it didn't start on time, but let's say about 40 minutes into the debate before he asked the first legitimate question of Joe Biden. Everything before this was a hit job on Donald Trump. The first legitimate question to Joe Biden was, you've proposed $4 trillion tax increase. And so Joe Biden starts talking about, well, the government can create lots of things. We buy this, we spend this. And then to his credit, Chris Wallace said, Joe Biden, I wasn't asking about government spending. I was asking about increasing taxes, not spending. And that was the end of his objectivity because Biden deferred and booted and punted once again and did not answer the question and moved on about his $4 trillion in government spending for taxes, claiming as if government spending is what sparks the economy. Well, we know that is only a partial measure and is not the reason why jobs are created in the economy. By the way, this whole fiction, this gets down to it later on, Biden claiming that Trump lost, and then Chris Wallace, it's somewhere down here later on, but I'll get to it. Chris Wallace says that Barack Obama created more jobs in his final 4 years than you did in your first 4 years. Well, that's fraudulent, on the basis alone that presidents don't create jobs. Unless they expand the federal bureaucracy by adding jobs to the executive branch, they create zero jobs. Zero jobs, ladies and gentlemen. Let me just let you tell that. No jobs created by any president unless they've created new positions in the executive branch of the federal government. None. They can create conditions which make it conducive for the private sector to create jobs or for state and municipal governments to create jobs, but the President of the United States creates zero jobs outside the executive branch. And the executive branch is not growing in jobs. So it's a lie. Barack Obama created zero jobs. Donald Trump created zero jobs. Barack Obama created the conditions for the loss of tens of millions of jobs and the crippling of the American economy. Donald Trump created the conditions to free business from ludicrous regulations, which had zero positive impact on economic activity and even less on reducing climate emissions. And it just simply hampered our economy and hindered business and forced companies to send jobs abroad. Donald Trump lifted those restrictions in many cases and also introduced a tax cut which spurred the creation of tens of millions of jobs. That's the bottom line. But Trump didn't create the jobs, no more than Barack Obama did. So get your facts right, Chris Wallace. You're supposed to be a journalist. A journalist should know that. You should be educated. You should be proficient in the things you're talking about, and you're not, Chris Wallace. Your father is far more of a journalist than you'll ever be. It's very disappointing. I actually liked Chris Wallace a few years ago until he went on this nonsense. It corresponds with Donald Trump's arrival. So Biden went on, but Chris Wallace wasn't asking about spending. He was asking about taxes. So like I said, this was my comment when Wallace did. I said, lies. Chris Wallace claims that Obama created more jobs than Trump. It's fiction. Then Biden proudly says that I saved the automotive industry. No, you didn't. You did not save the automotive industry. You stole the automotive industry. And I'm so sick of the left and Obama and Biden lying about this. Ladies and gentlemen, the Obama administration used extrajudicial tactics to push General Motors and Chrysler into an illegal bankruptcy process that was not the proper chapter filing. They skirted that process because they threatened them with endless investigations into the lives of the executives of those corporations, destroying their wealth, destroying their savings, destroying their family. And rather than be men and women and stand up for what's right, they capitulated. Maybe they were doing something wrong. Maybe that's why. They capitulated. And Obama stole General Motors from the bondholders and from the shareholders of a publicly owned company. He did the same thing to Chrysler. And then he gave away big chunks of both corporations to the very unions who in large measure were responsible for the failure of Chrysler and General Motors, along with their own leadership, the corporate leadership. The unions played a major role in the collapse of those two companies. Absolutely. Stole General Motors. Chrysler doesn't belong to America. It belongs to Fiat. It's not even an American company. What did he save? General Motors has shed tens of thousands of jobs since it was government motors. So what did he save? And they've sold off all of their assets. General Motors doesn't own anything anymore. Hughes is not part of General Motors. Alley is not part of General Motors. GM Finance was spun off. They own nothing except car manufacturing, which is not diverse and it's far smaller than it was before. And General Motors does not have the models in the pipeline to save it the next time it fails. Simple as that. You stole it from shareholders. You liquidated the common stock and you wiped out the bondholders who legally were entitled to recompense when the company was reorganized. And they used extra legal procedures to steal these companies from American taxpayers and retirement funds. And they've never been held to account for this. This is shameful behavior. And if Joe Biden is proud of saving it, it shows just how detached from reality is, or how much he thinks he can hoodwink the unknowing and uncaring and uninformed public. You're thieves. You stole those companies from shareholders and bondholders, and that's the truth. And I'm sick of your lying, Joe Biden and Barry Hussein Obama. You lie, you lie, you lie, and you've been doing it for years. Capitalism failed my ass. You failed, and you lied about capitalism. Capitalism doesn't fail. It's a perfect system. All right, so then Chris Wallace talks about equivalence. Okay, this was fascinating from Chris Wallace. He said that President Trump blamed Democrats and leftist cities for the violence in America and allowing it to happen. But then he points out, but Tulsa and Fort Worth are led by Republicans, and we see similar spikes there. Okay, Tulsa and Fort Worth. Thank you very much. Seattle, Portland, Pittsburgh, Chicago, New York City, Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, Atlanta, Chattanooga. Shall I continue, ladies and gentlemen? All Democratic cities, all run by Democrats for decades, in some cases a century. And this is where we're seeing the violence. And he points out 2 cities led by the other political party. That is dishonest in the most wildest margin possible. It's simply dishonest, Chris Wallace. You're a fraud. You're a fraud, Chris Wallace. You're a fraud. Equivalent spikes in 2 cities. Now, there are other cities run by Republicans. We could add to this, but he offered 2. And I just gave you a dozen or 8, something like that. Joe Biden says they're dying in the suburbs. Excuse me? Who's dying in the suburbs? We're not seeing armed insurrections taking place in the suburbs of America, whether black folks, Asian folks, white folks, mixed folks live in those suburbs. We're not seeing that. We're seeing it in urban centers run by Democrats and leftist mayors and states run by governors. That's where we're seeing it. I live in the suburbs. Nobody's dying here. Tain't no COVID around here killing people. Yes, there's a few people who unfortunately have succumbed to this virus, but he's telling a very dishonest narrative there. Conscious Caracal just tuned in. Elevator pitch and your thoughts on tonight's debate. I'll get back to that in a moment, Conscious Caracal. Let me get through my comments here because some people have been waiting throughout the debate to hear it. They've been with me the entire time, so thank you for tuning in. Yeah, I guess it's getting early in the morning there in South Africa. It's 5 a.m., so Conscious Caracal's up. By the way, Ernst Rich has agreed to come on Chris Wyatt Africa. Did you catch that? I'll be reaching out to him sometime soon to get him on the channel. We'll see how it goes. So I can thank Ronaldo for that. Ronaldo paid it back. I helped ease the path so that Steve Hofmeyer would go in Ronaldo Hus. And in gratitude, he put Ernst on the spot. Of course, I had to do a super chat to get that, but that's okay. I'll talk to Ronaldo about that. So dying in the suburbs. Now, Wallace did ask this question. This was a good one. Now, I might have missed this, so if I missed it, you guys correct me, but I missed this because I was taking notes. I didn't hear him say it, but Chris Wallace says, do you support the police? And then Joe Biden said, I'm for the police. They need more assistance. I'm against defunding the police. That was encouraging to hear Joe Biden say, and I'll give Joe Biden credit that he is against defunding the police. I don't believe him, but he said it, and so I'll give him credit for saying. He said we also need community policing. Well, you're damn skipping we need community policing. We've always needed, South Africa needs community policing. Cop should know the people in their neighborhood. People should be able to trust the cop and come up to them. Hey, Officer Jones. Yeah, that's how policing should be. And some places it is like that, particularly in suburbs and small towns, like where I live in a small town. People know the cops and they trust them. They know they're well-trained and know that they're responsible. But nameless, faceless cops in big metropolitan areas, that's a problem. Community policing is important. I agree with Joe Biden on that. Well said, Joe Biden. But it's interesting because later, or not later, this time, the specific question Wallace asked him is, do you support Black Lives Matter? And I don't recall Joe Biden answering that question. If he did, I will correct myself, but I was busy taking notes, and I did not hear Joe Biden say, I disavow Black Lives Matter. Did he say that? If he did, please tell me. Somebody was watching the stream. I did not hear him answer that question. Then Wallace, to his credit, did say that there were a lot of protests, 100 days of protests, and that many of them turned into riots. So that was correct. I'll give Wallace credit for that. But the problem with this is that Joe Biden said that he's for supporting the police. He said they need more assistance. In other words, Trump's not doing enough to help the police. That's exactly what he said. That's what he said. He said that Trump need to provide them with equipment and with training and resources, the police. So he talked about local police, state police, I'm not sure. But his point is he's talking about supporting police that have nothing to do with the federal government and is not Donald Trump's responsibility in any way whatsoever. So that's what he said. But then he turns it around. So he blames Trump for not running the police. Then he talks about Portland. He says, well, you have to stay out of the police way. So he blames Trump for not doing everything for the police and running the police. Then he says Trump has to stay out of the way. So make up your mind. Are you for helping the police or are you for staying out of the way? Staying out of the way is the correct approach because it's a federal system, Joe Biden. He was all over the place waffled, and Chris Wallace never questioned him on that. Never questioned the conflict, the discord between, the disharmony between what he said in one sentence and the next sentence. So the defund the police wasn't very popular. No, it's not popular. Biden may come to regret Antifa. Oh, yeah, that I got that one coming up. That one's coming up. That was my next one here. So Biden says Antifa is an idea. Excuse me? Antifa is an idea? No, Antifa is a domestic terrorist organization. We have evidence of it. And some of their clowns have been rounded up since they've been declared. And wait till after the election, ladies and gentlemen. Black Lives Matter will be declared a domestic terrorist organization too. You just wait and see. Prediction. Within a week after the election. Well, after we know the results. All right, so maybe not before we know the results. Trump probably won't wait because he's not running ever again. Then Chris Wallace pulls the ultimate BS by teeing up a climate change question with a bunch of BS to Donald Trump. And he sets up Biden with a softball question in response, which is ridiculous. Biden says more carbon is absorbed by the Amazon. So then why do we need to cut emissions, Joe? Okay, I'm being a little unfair to Joe Biden, but his suggestion was that we pay Brazil tens of billions of dollars so that people don't cut trees down. Okay, when I suggested the U.S. government give Robert Mugabe $2 billion a year so he wouldn't destroy the commercial farming sector, so that he'd use that money to pay off his corrupt officials so they would be happy, because that's what they wanted. They wanted to steal from the farms. They didn't care about white commercial farmers being in Zimbabwe. They're the ones that approved the sale of the land to white commercial farmers. 42% of all commercial land was sold to white commercial farmers between 1980 and 2000 under Prime Minister and then President Mugabe. They didn't give a crap. They just wanted to steal, and there was nothing left to steal in the economy by 2000 because they crushed it. So they went after the commercial farming sector. If we had flown plane loads of cash to Zimbabwe, a la what Barack Obama did, giving money to the Iranians, if we'd done that on a periodic basis, then I'm telling you, the Zimbabwe never would have gone the direction it would have been, full of corrupt officials, but it's always been full of corrupt officials. So Biden wants us to pay off Brazil by giving people in Brazil tens of billions of dollars so they don't cut trees down. Really? How about you get Brazil to manage its forest better and get control of its land instead of just letting people run around and willy-nilly cut down the forest in the Amazon? That's Brazil's responsibility. But again, the New World Order elite leftists want us to be the world's policemen and to control everything. And that's not how it works. So Joe then says, Joe's talking about creating all these green jobs. What was Solyndra? Is that where you're going to create it, Joe? Or clean coal? What about Andrew Cuomo's $750 million solar photovoltaic panel plant in Buffalo, New York that doesn't exist anymore? That $1 billion pissed down the drain. Instead of buying 32,000 ventilators for $34 million, he buys a solar photovoltaic plant in upstate New York, which goes out of business. There you go. There you go. So all these, if we're going to create these thousands, millions of green jobs, where are they, Joe? You had 8 years of this lying to us. You poured billions of dollars of our tax dollars and money borrowed from China into fictitious companies or companies that simply failed, and these people walked away with billions of dollars in their pocket. Where are the jobs, Joe? They don't exist because we're not going to put 25% of the country's surface area under photovoltaic cells because they're unreliable, they're expensive, and they're dangerous for creation to the environment because the rare earths that they're needed to make these things, and they have to be replaced all the time. You're going to have landfulls of solar photovoltaic panels in order to provide the energy necessary to run a modern industrial or post-industrial economy. What a joke. What a joke. They're still selling and pandering this BS. Now, I believe in alternative energy, and solar photovoltaic has come very far from 17% efficiency to up in the high 20s now. But it's still less than the internal combustion engine, which is nearly 40%. 36 to 40%, 38% is what you get from the internal combustion engine when you burn gasoline or petrol inside an engine. Still 40 to 50% more than you get from solar photovoltaic. And you can use it any time. You just fill your tank up. But you can only use solar photovoltaic when the sun is shining or you've charged your batteries. And those batteries are made from toxic materials, by the way, folks. There's not enough lithium on the planet to make sufficient batteries to power the entire planet. It's a leftist nonsense dream. Alternative energy is a good idea where it fits. I recommend alternative energy in the crew. Put your plants out there. Put solar thermal out there. That's a good one. Concentrated solar power. That's the other one. CSP they're calling, but it's solar thermal is what it is. And then Joe Biden talks about the election, the mail-in ballots, when Chris Wallace asks these questions. And he says, Joe Biden says, when there's a question about the ballot, you just say, well, it's me. No, it isn't. The ballots are at the Board of Elections. You're home. What's the purpose of telling the election officials that that's your ballot? Why did you mail it in the first place? You go to the polling station, you vote. There's no need for that. You're not going to have 80 million people show up at Board of Elections and stand there and expose themselves to COVID, which is the whole point of this sham mail-in ballot nonsense, is so people don't have to go to polling stations, ostensibly to avoid COVID-19. You're not going to do that. And then when the votes are in question, and we saw for ourselves in Newark, New Jersey, I said Trenton earlier, but it's Newark. In Newark, New Jersey, I typed the wrong thing earlier. In Newark, New Jersey, in the May primary, 20% of all ballots were fraudulent, as determined by the leftist Democrats who were on the voting board at the Board of Elections in Trenton, or in Newark. They themselves found 20%. Can you imagine an objective Board of Elections with officials from both parties somewhere? If it's 20% fraudulent in Newark, imagine how many it really was. It's just crazy. How do you say it's me when you're at home and your ballot's at the Board of Elections? That's nonsense. And if Joe Biden thinks that we're stupid enough to fall for that, he really is deranged. No. And then he lies. He says, it's the same way the military's done it for decades. It's not the same way, ladies and gentlemen. Don't fall for that lie. I voted absentee ballot, federal absentee ballot, for the last 30 years as an active military member, not living in Ohio, voting every single year in Ohio. It doesn't work the same way. I had to go to the Board of Elections and fill out a form and show my identification to verify who I was to get registered to vote there. Once I was registered to vote there, then I was able to apply with an absentee ballot. They had my signature on file, they had my personal details on file, and I have proved that I was military. And that's legitimate because I was in the state. Same with diplomats serving abroad. Same with business people out of the state during elections. It is a lie that the mail-in balloting process is the same and safe as federal absentee balloting. It is not. Yes, the method to get the ballot to the the Board of Elections is through the Postal Service, but that doesn't mean that mail-in balloting is federal absentee balloting. Two completely separate processes, have nothing to do with each other. Another leftist lie, and Joe Biden doesn't know what he's talking about. Doesn't know what he's talking about. Lying Jim Crow Joe. All right, to get back to Conscious Caracle's question. Conscious Caracle popped up and he said that just tuned in, elevator pitch, your thoughts tonight's debate. Tonight, I thought this was a sad, pathetic, ridiculous non-debate. It was simply a match between two candidates spewing things. And I scored Donald Trump with a B-, and I gave Joe Biden a C+. Mostly because our expectations of Joe Biden were really low. We expected Joe to show up with no pants on, walking out in boxer shorts. That's what I expected. So Biden spewed a whole bunch of nonsense, but he managed to hold his words together pretty well. I don't know if he's hopped up on amphetamines to keep him conscious or lucid, but whatever it was, he did a pretty good job, although he was the most disrespectful, condescending, smug piece of filth I've ever seen on a presidential debate stage. Worse than Donald Trump was in 2016 in the Republican primaries when he called Lying Ted and Little Marco and belittled all of his opponents. And worse than he was on a stage with Hillary Clinton. He was an absolute bore, disrespectful. He disrespected the office of the president. Look at this clown. Listen to this clown. That's what he said to the sitting president of the United States. You don't deserve to be president on the basis of that alone, Joe Biden, because you have no respect for the office. You're the clown. So my assessment so far as their performance in the debate was Donald Trump B- and Joe Biden a C+. Donald Trump the B- because he failed to hit the nail on the head several times, including when Chris Wallace hit him with BS. Chris Wallace hit him with the question about your taxes. You only paid $750 in taxes. And Donald Trump says, that's not true, Chris. I paid $24 million one year, $38 million another year. So let me ask you this again. You're not answering the question. Did you only pay $750 in taxes? And then Donald Trump moved on. No, hit him hard. Chris Wallace, you're asking a fraudulent question. You're asking what I paid in taxes. I paid in federal income taxes in 1 year, $750 in direct taxation. However, I'm subject to the alternative minimum tax, which is a federal income tax. And as a consequence, I paid $24 million. It's a ludicrous leftist talking point, and Trump didn't strike back on it. He also didn't strike back on the Paris Climate Accord. He went off on some tangent, which really wasn't the hard issue here. The bottom line is the Paris Climate Accord is a bullshit agreement. There's no penalties for rule breakers, just like there were no penalties for Kyoto rule breakers. Every industrialized country in the world that signed the Kyoto Protocol has broken it every single year since it's been in existence. That's why emissions have risen, because the Germans, the French, the Italians, the Japanese have failed to live up to their agreement under Kyoto protocols from 1997. So how is a bullshit gentleman's agreement in Paris going to change anything? It isn't. It's a lie. It's a feel-good for leftists so they can claim they've done something. Donald Trump withdrew from it. So what? We weren't obliged to follow it. The president cannot enter into a treaty. He can agree to a treaty, but the Senate must ratify it. That's why the SALT II treaty, the Strategic Arms Limitation Talks, was never ratified, never became the law in the United States, because the Senate refused to ratify it. The Senate refused to ratify the Rome Statute initially for the International Criminal Court because it discriminated against U.S. public officials and military members. The Senate was never given the opportunity to vote on the Paris Climate Accord. What Barack Obama did was fraudulent and illegal and in violation of the Constitution. Yet another constitutional violation by the chief executive, Barack Obama. He doesn't have the authority to make treaties. You could call it an accord, but it's a treaty. And you can't tie the United States to the obligations to abide by that treaty without the Senate ratifying it. So Donald Trump withdrawing from it is a non sequitur. It had nothing to do with anything. We were not going to follow them. But here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. The Kyoto Protocols went into effect in 2000. What is the only industrialized country in the world that actually met the Kyoto Protocol standards from 2000 to 2008? We have to go to 2008 because from 2008 to 2011, the global economy took a nosedive courtesy of the U.S. government's intrusion into the subprime market and the housing market. They caused this. But from 2008 to 2011, when we recovered, the world recovered, 3 years you can't count. So from 2000 to 2008, from the time it came into effect, the only country in the world that reduced its carbon emissions year after year after year was the United States, and we didn't sign it. But we improved technology. We rotated new cars through our economy. We built new factories, which are more energy efficient. And despite our population growing legally and illegally from illegal aliens invading our country, we reduced our carbon emissions. Look it up, ladies and gentlemen. It's a matter of record. It's a fact. Year after year, we reduced our carbon emissions, while every European country raised their carbon emissions, all in the time they're supposed to reduce it. Now, to be fair, Germany's lowered their carbon emissions because they got rid of some of their lignite burning power plants. But every country, Canada even, raised its carbon emissions. We didn't. We lowered it without signing some stupid agreement. Who cares what agreement you sign, especially when it has no enforcement capacity? Chris Wallace's question was BS, and Joe Biden's response was BS too. Utter nonsense. All right. So that was my position on their performance. B-, C+. Am I being generous to Joe Biden? I don't know. We really expected him to implode. I think a lot of people are shocked that he didn't implode. He definitely rambled a bit, but, Trump rambled a couple times too. Let's see. Conscious Carrickle says Biden may come to regret Antifa. Yep, Antifa's an idea. That is BS. That's going to be played a lot by conservative press. Antifa has a flag and uniforms. They aren't an idea. No, they're an army. They are an insurrectionist organization. And the irony is they call themselves the anti-fascists when they are exactly that, fascist. Fascists who seek to stamp out free speech, freedom of assembly, freedom of thought. They don't want any of that. So that's exactly what they are. Biden endorsing critical race theory training. He did. Thank you, Conscious Carrickle. I missed that one. Yeah, he endorsed it. Oko has just subscribed. Well, thank you for the subscription, Oko. Appreciate it. But yeah, he did. Joe Biden did endorse the forcing of racist BS on Americans. Yeah, he did with critical race theory. Absolutely right. Yep, absolutely. And then Chris Wallace acted as if Donald Trump did something wrong by removing the racist policies that put it in, that tell people that you can't legislate on how people feel about other people. That's asinine. And it's not the state's responsibility to teach Americans to be cognizant of how others feel. They're called parents, ladies and gentlemen. And when you have a nuclear family with two parents, unlike in this country where 78% of black children are born out of wedlock to single-parent mothers, 78%, nearly 8 out of 10 black children born illegitimately. 45% of Hispanic children are born illegitimately. 25% of white children are born illegitimately. and 9% of Asians in this country. When you have this epidemic of single parentism, absence of a father in the home, gee, you can wonder why we have this nonsense in this country. Add to it all the leftist efforts to dumb down education. It's beyond conception, but it's reality, folks. Sean says he wants psychiatrists to be riding along with the police. Yeah, that's comical. D-Stu says, yes, Homeland Security says domestic terrorists will be active after the election. They're already active. Charlotte's Webb says, Wallace asked President Trump to disavow the KKK, but Antifa and BLM is fine. Did he ask that question? I may have missed that, Charlotte. Thanks for catching that. If he actually asked him, I missed that. Paul says Joe's a smooth liar. I agree. What is a brown star? I don't know what that was. Seal Throb is just subscribed. Wow, are people watching and subscribed? Well, thank you so much for subscribing to the channel. Conscious Carrickle said, told Trump to shut up. Yeah, he did. He did. Joe Biden said, would you shut up? Can you believe that? Can you believe it? That is unpresidential. And worse than Trump was in 2016. And I was one of his biggest critics in 2016, the way he behaved. Conscious Carrickle says, can anybody remember another presidential debate where a foreign war wasn't one of the top? Ooh, that's a good point. We didn't talk about any foreign wars. And why is that, Conscious Carrickle? Because Donald Trump has taken us out of foreign conflicts. He's removed us from conflict. Unlike Barack Obama, who started more wars than George Bush, but got a Nobel Peace Prize for ending conflict when he wasn't even president. What a ridiculous joke. What a ridiculous joke, ladies and gentlemen. Biden said his son got a brown star. Oh, no, bronze star, Conscious Carrickle. He said bronze star. If you heard brown star, I heard bronze. If you heard brown star, you may have heard it incorrectly because of the feed, or maybe he did say it wrong. And I'm conditioning a bronze star. His son got a bronze star. Whoop-de-doo. Ladies and gentlemen, let me put this in perspective for you. I was in the first Gulf War. Everyone in my unit who was a captain and above, plus the 2 sergeants major we had in the battalion, automatically got bronze stars. Regardless of what they did, they got bronze stars. Now, there was a captain who got a silver star, and it was merited for the contact that they had against the Talwakana division. And there was a mortar platoon leader who got an Army combination with a V device for valor. And then the scout platoon leader also got a bronze star with valor. But every officer in the grade of captain and above in the battalion, regardless of what they did or didn't do, automatically got a bronze star. Do you know what that told me about bronze stars in the first Gulf War? It's bullshit. It's bullshit. In that battalion, now I didn't get one. I was a lieutenant, and it's not sour grapes. In that battalion, the number of people who should have been awarded bronze star in that conflict was less than a dozen. Not every single commissioned officer in the grade of captain and above, including the chaplain. So big whoop that this attorney sat in refuge in the green zone and got himself a bronze star. Not impressed. Not trying to denigrate the service of his son. But funny how he got all defensive about his son and tried to play that up as if we're going to fall for that. The actions of your son, Joe Biden, are not your actions. I don't vote for Donald Trump because Melania is sexy and attractive and the most beautiful first lady in the history of the United States. That's not why I vote for Donald Trump. I don't care about that. Good on him. He married a supermodel. I'm impressed. And had a kid at his age. I vote for Donald Trump because of his policies and because of his positions. Bottom line. So bringing your son into this was disgraceful. You never should have brought his son into this. That was disgraceful. And of course, he's looking at tugging at the heartstrings because his son served in uniform as a Navy attorney, and his son died from cancer, and that's what he's pulling at. And he just acted all offended. Donald Trump didn't even bring his son up. We're talking about Hunter, the sleazeball who was kicked out of the military for a positive urinalysis for doing cocaine only a few months after he was given a direct commission. Didn't even earn his commission. Direct commission, and then he gets booted for being a druggie. And also a whoremonger. Got caught with prostitutes too. The list goes on about Hunter Biden. And yes, the billions of dollars from China, the millions of dollars from the Ukraine, all true stories. Joe Biden denied it, but he's just lying through your teeth. There's evidence of it. We have the evidence. Just be honest there, Joe. Very disgusting. Lola J says, thanks, Mr. Bio, for all the things you've done, the battles that you've won, the way you... Don't cry for me, I need Cheetos. That's good. I like that. His son worked on his cocaine addiction. Yeah, that was entertaining. Looking for us to have sympathy for his cocaine addiction. The problem with Hunter Biden and sympathy is that every time you learn something about the guy, it's more reprehensible. I mean, the things he was doing when he was married and the way he was behaving, not making moral judgments, but you can't hold the guy up to be a hallmark of morality when he's done such reprehensible things. Give him a second chance? Sure. Everyone deserves a second chance. But come on. D-Stu says, unfortunately for those that don't know, military bronze stars sound good. Yeah, exactly. Exactly, D-Stu. It does sound impressive. It can be. And there are thousands of soldiers, Marines, airmen, Navy sailors who have earned legitimate Bronze Stars. I'm not trying to poo on anyone. It's a legitimate award. But again, my battalion, everyone in the grade of captain above automatically got one. I kind of cheapened the award in my mind. Really cheapened it. So I don't have a Bronze Star, by the way. I have 24 different separate individual awards, but I actually have far more than that because, for instance, I have like 9 Army Commendation medals. Whoop-de-doo! Doesn't make me a hero. It just means that I had a boss that rewarded me for excellent performance or for something I did, either in peacetime or in combat or in one of my staff jobs. Doesn't make me a genius. Yes, and I walk around with all kinds of stuff on my chest in uniform. Doesn't make me right or moral or a hero. And I would not expect anybody to go, my son, my husband, my brother, he is a war hero, he's a hero. Look at all the decorations he's got. And pull on your strings so that they can get elected to office. I would find that distasteful. Just my personal view on that one, folks. So Conscious Clerical says, Trump per se isn't important to me. It's the underhandedness of the elite forces right against him that incenses me. I agree, Conscious Clerical. Ernst Fonsal, you are correct, my friend. You're By the way, Ernst, it's time to come back on the channel. We need to get you back on. But I don't know when I can do it because I got a lot going on right now. But my point is that, yeah, I agree with you. It's not Trump so much, and I was not a Trump fan to the beginning. I vote for him, but I don't have many options. And actually, I find a lot of what he does now, trolling the left, actually be kind of funny. I liked, in the preparation for this debate, Donald Trump demanded that Joe Biden take your analysis. He offered to take one as well. That was funny because what that did is it knocked the left off their game, and they had to come up with this fake, Trump's a bad businessman because he doesn't have any money and he only paid $700 in taxes. No, that's a lie. The actual New York Times article, if you continue to read it all the way through, unlike the TV announcers, the Rachel Maddows of the world, people like that, the Chris Wallace of the world who don't read the actual story, only repeat and parrot the nonsense that is told to them by the talking points from the leftist elites, well, then they get it wrong. But the New York Times itself disclosed later in the story that Trump paid $24 million in one of those years in taxes. Yes, because he was subject to the alternative minimum tax, like millions of Americans, an unfair tax, and he was subject to it. Anyway, so yeah, the dishonest. Chris Wallace, you shamed yourself tonight. Now, to be fair, he had a tough job. Neither Joe Biden or Donald Trump was willing to be tied to their time limit or their desire to interrupt the other guy. Both of them did it. Both of them were wrong. It was not entertaining. It was annoying at times. But I will say that when it comes to digs and accurate digs, Donald Trump got the better digs in, particularly at the end of the debate. If you want to call it a debate, at the end, as he wrapped up, Donald Trump just went through a whole list of things and he just eviscerated. I saw Joe Biden's entrails laying on the stage in that last part. Donald Trump really got his act together, and that's what got him a B-. Before that, I was considering giving him a C+. I really was, because he had not hit back against Chris Wallace's fraudulent nonsense. Anyway, folks, give me a date and we'll book it. Yeah, Conscious Clerical, I've got some commitments coming up, so I'm not sure when I'll be able to book it yet. I've got to sort all that out, but I will let you know. We'll get it set up. I need to reach out to Ansel Hertz first. I need to get Ans on before I get you back on Conscious Clerical, just because I don't want to miss the chance. He committed. He even sent me a thumbs up in WhatsApp, so I need to get him on the channel, so I'm working on that. Folks, I hope that you found this useful, interesting, hopefully informative. I thought it was interesting to watch it, and I don't know your thoughts on my feedback. Was I critical of Chris Wallace? You're right. I was very critical of Chris Wallace. Also, I think I was fair. The times when he asked good questions, I've mentioned those, when he asked a very good question of Biden in particular, but his dishonest questions I pointed out as well. Was I fair to Joe Biden? During the chat, I would point out a lot of things that Joe was saying, and maybe my chat comments were a bit unfair to him, but I think my assessment of him was fair. I think that a lot of people would be surprised that I give him a C+. I think he did pretty well considering what people expected of him. But he just told a bunch of fairy tales and lies. For his part, Trump, as far as fact-checking, we can fact-check some of the things. He got a few things wrong. But by and large, Trump had his act together. It's just that he interrupted at the wrong time too often, and he didn't press back against Chris Wallace hard enough. So I don't think Trump was on his A game tonight, and I think Biden was on his super A game, the best he's ever going to do. So I was actually surprised Biden did as well as he did. But that's kind of where I thought. What do you guys think? What do you think about yeah, okay, Ernst, I do need to come on your channel. Absolutely. Maybe we can do that before. Maybe we can do that before I get you back on my channel. Actually, I'd love to come on, Ernst. Maybe this weekend if you're free, if you want to do something this weekend. But you have a specific schedule, so I mean, I'm on every day, so I do interviews every day. So, but yeah, Ernst, Conscious Carical, I'll be happy to come back on your channel. Thanks. It's been a while. 90 subs away from 5,000. Are you serious? Cool. Well, I can't let you catch up to me, man. I'm just kidding. I mean, I finally got rid of germ warfare. Finally got him banned, man. I called all my friends at YouTube and got him banned. Obviously, I'm just kidding, folks. If I had friends at YouTube, I'd have a lot more subscribers on my channel instead of the 974 they took out of my account in August. By the way, almost all of those people were unsubscribed without their knowledge. And I know this because dozens of people contact me and say, why did you unsubscribe me? I said, I don't control your subscription. Only you do, and YouTube does. They unsubscribed you. And I can show you the stats. By the way, that statistic, which was available on YouTube, has disappeared. It was only on the mobile version, so I could bring it up on my tablet. Whoops, my tablet, or I could bring it up. Sorry, I'm charging my tablet because it was at 5%. Or I can bring it up on my mobile, on the app, on both of those. But you can't see it on the website. It only shows you how many subscribers you gain. But on the phone, until last week, you could see how many you lost each month. They put that on there and made that available to us for a month. And then they realized that that's data they don't want us to know. So in August, I saw that I lost 974 subscribers, but I gained 1,374. Or 1,300 something. So I had a net gain of over 400 subscribers. Well, that's BS. There's no way that 974 people said, you know what, this channel's cock. I don't want anything to do with it. That's nonsense. Or there were 974 people went through and go, I'm subscribed to too many channels. Let me get rid of this one. Let me get rid of that one. That's nonsense. And I know this for a fact because one of my moderators was removed his subscription twice in the same day. He's a moderator on my channel. And we had a stream, and he comes in afterwards, and he says, listen, I had to go back and resubscribe. It said I wasn't subscribed to your channel. I said, wow, that's strange. Then we did the Night Owls edition, and after that, he sends me a WhatsApp because I was unsubscribed again. I have Herman Ruse, a paying member of my site, who is still being billed for his membership, yet was unsubscribed from my channel. That's what YouTube is doing, folks. Ernst, that might be one of the reasons why things don't grow as fast as they could be. Seal Throb says, I found your post-debate commentary excellent, fair, and unbiased. I really enjoyed it. Best post-debate listener. Well, thank you, Seal Throb. I really appreciate that. I think I was fair. And I think my assessment of Joe Biden was generous, and I think it was accurate for Donald Trump, but people may disagree. But again, I'll be honest, in the chat, during the stream, I was not entirely fair to Joe Biden all the time. I attacked him quite a bit in there, but that was the chat during the stream. And what you guys are tuning in for now, and it's actually my largest audience of the evening, is during the post-debate commentary, which is where my job is to be as unbiased and fair as possible. I think that Chris Wallace was exactly what I expected. He carried the water for Joe Biden, and he asked questions that were negative of Donald Trump. He did ask a couple of Joe Biden that were negative, but there were questions that left Biden an opportunity to recover. He never asked him about his 47 years in government and what things he did to increase jobs. He never asked anything like that. Never came up. So even the questions that were hard, and there are two hard questions that Wallace asked of Joe Biden, he didn't even answer one, and then he lets him get away with it. The one about raising taxes, $4 trillion in new taxes, and Wallace asked Joe Biden, he says, the president says that that's going to crush the economy and kill jobs. What's your response? And Biden starts talking about government spending, which is what he believes in because he's a leftist and he doesn't understand how economics works. And he'd rather destroy an economy in his stubbornness, just like all leftists. So to his credit, Chris Wallace said, but Vice President, you're not answering the question. I didn't ask you about spending. I asked you about taxes. And then Joe Biden just went off and didn't answer the question again. And Chris Wallace never came back to it and held him. But he repeatedly held Donald Trump to the fire when he said Donald Trump didn't answer his questions, even when Donald Trump answered his question. When he asked the question about Trump only paying $750 in income tax, Trump said, no, that's not true, Chris. One year I paid $24 million that's in question here, and another year I paid $38 million. And then Trump said something else. He goes, but Mr. President, you're not answering my question. Are you going to answer the question? Did you only pay $750? Asked and answered, Chris. Why didn't you continue to press Joe Biden? Trump actually answered your question, and you claimed he didn't. Biden didn't answer your question. You asked him to answer the question, and then he didn't, and you let it go. Plus, he repeatedly interrupted Trump. Now, Trump did interrupt Biden, so it was the responsibility of Chris Wallace to stop Trump on occasion. But Trump, in his 2-minute response, gets interrupted by Biden, and then Trump responds, and Chris Wallace tells Trump to stop talking. It's his 2 minutes. It's his 2 minutes. Trump was not the one that was wrong. Biden was the one that was wrong. It happened on at least 4 occasions where he interrupted Trump during his 2 minutes and let Biden answer for 90 seconds and then turns it over to Biden for the next question. That's not legitimate and honest.
I didn't see a clock up there showing how much time was on the questions. I clocked them here myself. Anyway, Chris Wallace was exactly what I expected. This would have been a genuine debate if Tucker Carlson, Brett Baer, or Shannon Bream had been the moderators. Shannon Bream would have been awesome. She would have been amazing and objective, and she wouldn't have let Trump or Biden get away with it. No, she wouldn't. Anyway, so that's kind of where we're at. So, conscious careless, so many experts on American politics and South African media, mainstream media, it's laughable. I'll stick to listening to your analysis as an actual American with skin in the game. Well, to be fair, Conscious Carol, I get your point, and I don't disagree with it, but I would say that I would hope you wouldn't feel that way when it comes to my commentary about South African politics. I'm not a South African, but I would argue that my analysis of South African politics is pretty good, pretty accurate, pretty spot on. And that's not being egotistical of me. I mean, it's not like I'm the first person to make that claim. So my point being that you don't have to be an American to have insightful analysis. But I will give you an example of where someone gets things wrong in just a moment, because somebody sent me, hey, Lazan is here. Good morning. We overslept. Well, you can go back and watch it from the beginning, Lazan. It was actually pretty good. So it's here for you to watch, and then you can come back and watch the commentary if you want. But good morning to you as well. Conscious says, but to be fair, there seem to be many experts in South African politics. Well, that's what I just said. but a lot of them are wrong. I'd like to think I'm pretty good. But you have first-hand in-depth. But that's true, Conscious Carol. But I would tell you that a number of people who are experts in fields don't have to have actually been to a region. I'm one of these people that doesn't subscribe to school that you can't be a subject matter expert if you've never been to a place. A small number of people are that insightful, that intelligent, and that analytical from all societies. I always say that there's a number of Alexander the Greats in every given cohort. Not a lot. It's a small percentage, less than 1% probably. But you can have people that don't have experience who have that kind of insightfulness. It's just their nature. They're just really clever people who get other people and appreciate it. So, and the reason I make that is because I think it's fair. I mean, I've met Germans who can tell you all about Nigerian politics, and they've never been to Nigeria, but they're very switched on. And I can talk to you about South Africans that really know what's going on, say in Morocco. I've met a couple can tell me about what's happening in Morocco. So but it's a very small number of people that are capable of doing that. Usually you have to have some kind of experience in a place to really get appreciation for it. But if you're a clever person, you look at culture and you look at language and you learn those things, and it really helps you learn that path. EditTube is here. Good to see you. Conscious Carol, if Biden wins, China wins. Well, yeah, I don't disagree with that at all. And Hunter Biden wins big time. Imagine the contracts he'll get when Joe Biden is president and he gets to fly in Air Force One all the time. So anyway, I think that's kind of where we're at, folks. Looks like people are dropping off now, even though some people have come into the stream. But I want to thank you guys for being part of this. It's now 11:30. I've been streaming for 3 hours, so I'm gonna call it quits. I think what I'll do is I'll download this and I'll edit it and I'll do the post debate so that people want to just watch the post debate can do that. I'll leave the rest untouched because if you want to watch the whole stream and have the debate, that's fine. That way we don't have to go to 3 different videos. I'll leave that video up for this live stream, and then I'll make a special video uploaded of my post debate analysis, and then you can just go into that and you guys can do it. South African mainstream journalists consider themselves experts in U.S. politics because they read the New York Times. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the same New York Times that lied. It's an act of omission to lie. Lazan says it's very difficult these days to find people who are capable of truly being neutral. I'll definitely watch from the beginning. Well, thank you, Lazan. But yeah, let me give an example here. So one of the viewers from my channel sent me a video from the, was it ENCA? ENCA at it again. And they interviewed someone from, was it WITS or some university in South Africa about security in Africa. And it was talking about military bases in Africa. Not attacking the U.S., but talking about the growth of military bases. And the gentleman talked about 3 bases for doing it. One is legitimacy is peacekeeping operations. That's why bases can be helpful. And then he went on, he talked about something else. And the third point was acting in their own interest. And he said, that's the one that's troubling. Well, I have all kinds of problem with that. I'm going to watch this video again. I'm probably going to make a video in response to this, even though most people haven't seen it. And I'll give you a link so you can watch that video. But it was a situation of this guy talking about these foreign powers, China, Russia, the United States, France, Japan, these foreign powers having bases in Africa because that's how they're selling weapons in Africa. Well, first off, that's BS. China is selling weapons, but they don't need bases. They've been selling weapons here for decades in Africa without bases in Africa. So the bases don't facilitate. That's nonsense. They have a naval base in Djibouti. That is not how they're getting weapons in Africa. They're getting weapons in Africa through airplanes and through ships, which is what they've been doing since the 60s. There's your facts. Also, I was really disgusted by this gentleman's portrayal of this because he implied that the United States was selling weapons in Africa, and that's a lie. We sold M1 Abrams tanks to Morocco, who bought them, but that's North Africa. We've sold Super Tucanos to Nigeria after 7 years of denying them so they could fight Boko Haram, and hearing Nigeria castigate us in the press and complain that we were handicapping their counterterrorism fight against Boko Haram because we refused to do it because of human rights abuses in Nigeria. Well, we finally are selling them as Super Tucanos, so yes, there's a weapon system there. But we don't sell rifles, we don't sell grenades, we don't sell landmines, we don't sell tanks, we don't sell planes, we don't sell any of that stuff in Africa, anywhere. We have delivered Cessna aircraft to multiple countries, but non-weapon platforms for surveillance, for reconnaissance, for VIP transport, for transport items. C-130s is excess defense articles, which are used for transport. We don't sell guns and artillery pieces and weapons of death in Africa, with a few exceptions, and I've just noted the exceptions. So I really found that distasteful because that was simply a lie. And that's a lie of omission, this gentleman putting that out there. And that's what I'm talking about. And this is what happens. This is a very well-informed PhD in South Africa who's talking about security in Africa. And a lot of his argument got correct, but that's simply misleading and lying. And I have issue with that. And I'll probably make a response video to that so you guys know what I'm talking about. But anyway, there you go. Good night. We keep saying good night to me. Conscious Character Day's just starting. I'm not going to bed yet, man. I'm all wired now after watching this and drinking this huge ass size Starbucks right here. Sorry for the profanity. Butt size, the big bum size Starbucks here. Anyway, folks, thanks for watching. I do appreciate it. I hope that you found it useful, and I thank you for your feedback. A couple people gave feedback, others didn't. Maybe they didn't like my analysis. That's fine. You don't have to agree with me. This is not a echo chamber. I'm happy to listen to other things, despite the nonsense that some people claim, like on someone else's channel. Oh, Chris Wyatt, if you argue with him, you're saying anything about Trump. Guys, I just said bad stuff about Trump. Did I not? I said where Trump fell down in this debate and where he didn't get it right. I don't know if Trump was going easy on Biden. I think he was in some respects. He's certainly going easy on Chris Wallace, and I don't understand why that happened. But I expect Trump to come out swinging the next time. We'll see. All right, folks, thanks for tuning in, and I appreciate it. Like I said, I'm going to cut this in half so it's just the post-debate, and then you'll be able to have the full thing. You can watch it all with the commentary afterwards, or just watch the commentary. All right, so cool beans, folks. Have a good night. I'll be on tomorrow. By the way, please tune in. I have Eric Bello, a professional actor and photographer, and Eric is starred in Good Girls, MacGyver, The Walking Dead. The list is endless. He's also been a lead actor in some movies, and he's done telenovelas because he performs not just in English but also in Spanish. I think in Italian as well, I think he's done. But Eric Bello, you'll recognize his face. You'll probably have seen him in some of these programs. But check out the video description. That's tomorrow at noon Eastern Standard Time, or today. Well, it's still tomorrow for me, but it's already today for you guys in Africa. But 15 minutes away from tomorrow for me. So it's Wednesday at noon Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. in South Africa, my normal time. And again, my apologies today, folks, for my eye emergency. I had to go to see an ophthalmologist to look to see if I'd torn my retina again. And so I had to postpone my noontime interview until 3 p.m. And I appreciate those who showed up, although it was a small audience. I hope that's not indicative of the audiences going forward. But anyway, thanks for tuning in for that. That's tomorrow, Wednesday. Thursday, Mimi Kalinda from South Africa, who will be on talking about changing the narrative on Africa. That's on Thursday. On Friday, by demand, Wyatt Dutoy, the former prisoner of war from the South African Defense Force who was captured in Angola, and the prolific public speaker and writer himself, Wyatt Dutoy, the retired South African military officer, will be on my channel by popular demand on Friday. Still setting up this weekend schedule, folks, so tune in for that. There'll be more coming. Davi Oosthuizen, I'm getting you on my program too one day, brother. We're going to do that. Also, coming up on, is Blood River celebration on the 10th of October, I think it is, something like that. I plan to do a live stream if I can get footage and feeds from Blood River for those going out there for that event coming up. So if that does happen, that's the plan, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for tuning in to, there's some Setswana there, Setswana. But thank you for tuning in, ladies and gentlemen. We'll catch you in a matter of hours, about 12 hours here on Chris Wyatt Africa. And I want to thank you all for tuning in, and I appreciate the feedback. Also, for those who subscribe to the channel during the stream, thank you so much for that. And the Flying Boar gave 2 super chats. Flying Boar, thank you for the super chats. Really appreciate it. I hope I answered your questions adequately. I do appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, have a lovely morning in South Africa. By the way, it was Giselle's birthday yesterday, in case you missed it. I did a video. Happy birthday to Giselle. Please go check out our Facebook page or go to giselle.co.za, Jezelle. I always think of that Jell-O commercial in America, Jello. No, Jezelle, giselle.co.za, and check out our music there. And also you can go look for her on Facebook, type in Giselle, South Africa. She'll come up. And then wish her a happy birthday, ladies and gentlemen. It was her birthday yesterday. So she's had quite an eventful year doing an album launch via COVID online. Her daughter turned a year old this year, her first child, and now she's had a birthday. So quite the year for Giselle. Anyway, folks, thanks a lot. We'll catch you tomorrow. Ramo says, I don't have a dog in this fight, but the first polls say Biden won. Okay, that's fine. The polls also say Biden's going to the election. They said Hillary's going to the election too. So we'll see. Like I said, the expectations for Joe Biden were very low. And so the fact that he walked out with his trousers on probably already put him in good stead for this election, or this debate. That's fine, Ramo. I'm not surprised to hear that they say Biden won. They said that Hillary won the debates last time. Are you serious? Donald Trump wiped the floor. He mopped the floor with Hillary Clinton in all the debates last time. And they claim that she won the debates. It's utter nonsense. So it's just subjective. It's how people feel. Ramo, how do you feel? If you don't mind sharing, do you think that Biden won the debate? If you did, that's fine. I don't think that Biden won the debate. I don't think any of us won the debate. I think this was just embarrassing. And Biden's conduct was shameful. Worse than Donald Trump's in 2016, in my own view. And remember, I'm a guy that didn't like Trump. So there you go, folks. All right, that's it. Take care. We'll catch you tomorrow or today if it's already South Africa. You guys have a good night and be safe, folks. As Big Daddy Liberty says, never trust a commie. And as Chris Wyatt says, never trust an ANC comrade because they're simply looking to take what you have, whether it's out of your pocket or it's elsewhere. All right, folks, my closing video is in the wrong spot here, so I'm going to catch you later. Good night. Thanks a lot. God bless. Be safe.